So this video is about writing 5/7. And before we actually write 5/7, we're going to take a look at how Haydn does it so we can model our writing on what Haydn does. So we'll start by listening to Haydn's Symphony 97 Movement 3. I'm going to play the recording in just a second, and I'll ask you to identify the cadence with which the excerpt ends, and then to identify the key and analyze the passage with Roman numerals. Okay, so we'll listen now, and then I'll ask you to pause the video and do all those things, and then unpause the video when you're finished, and we'll continue. Okay, so here's the recording. Okay, so now pause the video and label the key, analyze the passage with Roman numerals, and identify the cadence at the end of the excerpt. Then unpause the video. Okay, so what you should have gotten was something that looks like this. We're in the key of C major. We start with a 1 chord, and measure 2 is also 1, but notice I didn't put the 1 again because it's just a little bit cleaner not to keep repeating Roman numerals. So this 1 spans both measures 1 and 2. Then we get 5/7 in measure 3. Some of you might have put 5 triad here, but notice we've got an F in the soprano, okay? So that F is the 7th of the chord, which is why it's 5/7. Okay, measure 4, still 5/7. Here's the F. The F in the soprano is gone now, right? But it's still present here in an inner voice right here. And then measure 5 is still 5/7, okay? And then it finally resolves to 1 in measure 6. Then for the cadence, we get 5/7 to 1 and a PAC, right? So root position 5 to root position 1 with Do in the soprano over tonic. So there's our PAC. Okay, let's take a look in a little more detail at how Haydn resolves 5/7 to 1 at the end of the excerpt here. Okay, so what I'm going to do is, on your worksheet it accidentally says reduce measures 5 to 6 of Haydn. We're actually doing measures 7 to 8 instead. So I'm going to take these last 2 measures here, and I'm going to write them in 4-part writing rather than in the expanded texture that Haydn has in his symphony. Okay, so measure 7 in the bass has G, right? And then measure 8 has C. Okay. In the soprano, over the 5/7, we've got a D, and that D, Re, moves down to C in measure 8. So there's our D moves down to C, right? And our G moves up to C here in the bass. Okay, then for the inner voices, we've got an F in the alto here, and that F goes down to E. And we've got a B in the tenor here. I've already got a D and an F, so I'll exclude those. Okay, we need a B still though. So I've got a B in the tenor, and that moves up to C here, right? So we've got T in the tenor, Fa in the alto, Fa goes down to Mi in the alto, and T goes up to Do in the tenor. Okay, so here is C major, 5/7 to 1, just like Haydn wrote it without the doublings of notes. Okay, there. Okay, so here's what this sounds like. Now what you might notice is that in this 1 chord, there's actually a note missing, right? We're missing a G here. We've got a C, an E, and a 3rd C, so we're missing the 5th of the chord. And this is perfectly normal when you resolve 5/7 to 1. It's normal not to have the 5th of the chord. Why might that be? Well, we need the root of the chord in order to determine what the letter name of the chord is, right? If I didn't have C here as the root, if there were no C's in this chord, then how could it be a C major chord, right? I also need the E as the 3rd of the chord to tell me whether the chord is major or minor, right? If I don't have E, then I don't know whether it's C major, C, E, G, or C minor, C, E flat, G. So I need that 3rd of the chord because it gives me important information. The 5th of the chord, however, is unnecessary, right? if I've got C and E, I can pretty much guess that that's going to be a major chord. It's not a minor chord because I don't have E flat, right? So the G doesn't give me any information, so I can actually leave it out of the chord. Okay. The reason that it's left out is because of the way the notes resolve. Okay. We know that T, the leading tone, should go up to Do. Okay. F, the seventh of the chord, should go down to Mi, right? It's Fa going down to Mi. And it's important in this chord that Fa goes down to Mi because the F is a dissonance above the bass, right? So I'm going to write our 5/7 here in compact form, G, B, D, and F, right? And G to F is a seventh, so it's a dissonance. And as we know from second species counterpoint, we have to treat dissonances very carefully, right? So whenever you have a seventh of the chord, it always falls by step, okay? So the leading tone rises up to tonic, the seventh of the chord falls down to Mi, so Fa goes down to Mi, okay? And then last, up here in the soprano, we've got Re going down to Do. Okay, so let me write in the solfege here for you. Okay. So this is our normal way to resolve 5/7 to 1. Okay. The seventh of the chord must always fall, the leading tone must always rise, and this Re to Do is normal, but it's not a must. Okay, but it is normal, so you should get in the habit of doing Re down to Do. So it turns out then that there are 3 ways to resolve 5/7. We've already seen one of the ways, and just for completeness, I'm going to write that down here. Okay. So I'll rewrite what I wrote up there. I guess I don't need to write dotted half notes. Okay. C, F, B, E, and C. Okay. And I've got my seventh falling and my leading tone rising. Okay. So that is 5/7 to 1. All right, so here my 5/7 chord is complete, meaning that I've got all of the notes of the 5/7, G, B, D, and F. Okay, so I'm going to mark that with a C to say that it's complete. My 1 chord, as we already noticed, is incomplete. I've got C, C, E, C. I'm missing G. So I'm going to mark that with an I. This is way 1, to go from a complete chord, a complete dominant 7, to an incomplete tonic. Okay. Now you might be saying, well, wait, what if I want a complete tonic though? Isn't there a way that I can resolve 5/7 to 1 so that I get a complete tonic? The answer is yes. Okay, so we're going to do 5/7 to 1 again, but this time we're going to make the tonic complete. Okay. So here's G, okay, and here's C. And this time I'm going to put the leading tone in the soprano over the 5/7 chord. Remember, we like active notes in our sopranos over dominants. So I'm going to put the leading tone in the soprano, and that way I'll take care of its proper resolution right away. Okay, so there's my leading tone, and that leading tone should go up to tonic, right? T to Do. Okay, and I'm just going to draw a little arrow here to remind myself that the leading tone's resolving correctly. Okay. So I've got the root and the third of the chord in my 5/7 so far. I've got G and B, okay? I still need D and F if I want to make this a complete chord, but I said I'm going to make this one incomplete, or I said I'm going to make the tonic complete. The way to make the tonic complete is to make the 5/7 incomplete, okay? When I was talking earlier about the tonic chord being complete, I said that we could leave out the 5th because it doesn't give us information. The same thing happens with the 5/7 here. I need the root in order to know what the letter name of the chord is. I need the third of the chord in order to tell me whether it's major or minor. And since it's a 7th chord, I also need the 7th, otherwise it wouldn't be a 7th chord, right? So I have to have F. I'm going to put that F here. The note that I don't need then is, once again, the 5th of the chord. I don't need D because it doesn't give me any information about the chord. So instead of writing a D, I'm going to double the bass, which is our normal doubling, right, for root position chords. So I double the bass and the tenor there. Okay, now I want to take care of my tendency tones. So I want to take care of this chordal seventh in the alto, the F, right? That fa, F, has to go down to mi, E. Okay, there's my seventh going down. Okay, now I've got C, E, and C in my tonic. I still need a G, and the G is already there in the tenor. Okay, so making the dominant 7 incomplete creates a complete tonic naturally. So that's way 2 of writing 5/7. But you might still be saying, well, wait, what if I want a complete dominant 7 and a complete tonic? Isn't there a way to do that? And the answer here is yes, but we have to fudge it a little bit. Okay, so once again, we're going to write 5/7 to 1. But this time, we're going to make both chords complete. So I'm going to write complete dominant 7 to complete tonic. Okay. I'm going to go back to the soprano from our number 1 way of writing 5/7 to 1. So I'm going to put re, do in the soprano again. All right, so here's my D, here's C, re, do. Okay. My 5/7, if it's going to be complete, I've got G and D. I need a B and an F. I'll put the B in the tenor and the F in the alto. That'll give me good spacing. Okay. Then I want to start taking care of my tendency tones. Now this chordal seventh, that's a dissonance that must resolve, right? It's the 7th of the chord, it's the 7th above the root, so it's got to resolve. So my F, fa, is once again going to go down to E, mi. Okay. And now in my tonic chord, I've got C, E, and C, and I need a G if I want this chord to be complete. So here, the leading tone's going to do something kind of crazy. Okay, it's going to leap, instead of going up to tonic, it's going to leap down to G in order to make the tonic chord complete. Okay, this is called a leading tone drop. Leading tone drop. Okay, the reason we're using the leading tone drop here, and I'm just going to highlight it on the example here. The reason we're using the leading tone drop here is to get a complete tonic chord from a complete dominant 7 chord, right? If I resolve this leading tone as we expect it to, we won't have a complete tonic chord. Okay, so this is a special case, and this is the only case where the leading tone does not resolve to tonic. It's okay for it to drop down to scale degree 5. Okay, so the leading tone drop's purpose is to create a complete tonic chord from a complete dominant 7 chord. The reason I'm emphasizing this is because we can't just not resolve the leading tone whenever we feel like it. We need to make sure that the reason we're not resolving the leading tone is because we want a complete tonic chord, and the dominant 7 is also complete. Okay. Now there's one other condition that has to be present in order for us to use the leading tone drop, and that is that the leading tone must be in an inner voice. Leading tone must be in inner voice. The reason for that is we don't want to draw attention to the fact that we're not resolving the leading tone properly. And if you put it in the soprano, then you're going to hear that you're not resolving the leading tone properly, and it's going to be apparent, right? You're emphasizing the fact that you're not resolving the leading tone properly. And I'll play an example of that in just a second. Okay, so down here at the bottom, I have given you some notes about resolving 5/7 typically. So the leading tone goes to tonic, so T goes to do. The chordal 7th, fa, goes down by step to mi. And scale degree 2, which is re, usually goes down to tonic, do. Okay. The first two are rules, except we know that there's the leading tone drop as an exception to T going to do. Okay. Then I talk about the leading tone drop. So as I said, it's used to resolve a complete dominant chord to a complete tonic. Okay, it occurs when the leading tone skips down to scale degree 5, which is sol. Okay, sol. And it may only occur when the leading tone is in an inner voice. Okay. All right, so the steps then to writing 5/7, okay, are, as we've been doing, write your entire bass. Okay. Then write your entire soprano. Okay. Then fill in inner voices as a pair in the 5/7. Okay. Then take care of tendency tones, meaning the leading tone and the chordal seventh should resolve as you expect them to. Okay. What I mean by tendency tones is notes that need to go somewhere. So T is a tendency tone because it needs to go to Do. Fa is a tendency tone in the dominant 7 because it needs to go down to Mi. It's a dissonance. It needs to go down to Mi. Okay, so now let's hear all three of these ways of writing 5/7. So here's way number 1, a complete dominant 7 to an incomplete tonic. Here's way number 2, an incomplete dominant 7 to a complete tonic. Here's way number 3, a complete dominant 7 to a complete tonic using the leading tone drop. Okay, and then finally, here's an example where I'm going to put this tenor line that has the leading tone drop into the soprano so that it really highlights that oddness that you get when the leading tone doesn't go up to tonic as you expect. So here is a leading tone drop that's in the soprano, and this is a bad example. Okay, so try writing some 5/7 to 1 on your homework, and let me know if you have any questions. I'm going to scroll down to these notes just in case you didn't get them for your worksheet.